Welcome you to the Village of Dolton. We're going to have two meetings tonight, one shortly, short regular board meeting. There's one thing on the agenda. Tonight is regularly our Committee of the Whole agenda meeting, but there's something here that needs some special attention to, I guess. So we'll start with the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees from Monday, November 16th. Let the record reflect that we're starting at 6:38. Also, we'll call to order this meeting. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you can please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing, I ask Trustee Stubbs to lead us in prayer tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Heavenly Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus, just thanking you for another day, thanking you for letting all of us gather here today and allowing us to be on one accord for the betterment of our village. Father in heaven, I want to thank you for the safe passage home, Father. And for any of our loved ones or anybody that is bereavement, I want you to put your loving arms around them and comfort them. Be a comfort to all of us, Father. In the name of Jesus, I thank you, I adore you. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Sitting in tonight for our village clerk is a deputy village clerk, Denise Fields. Can we start with a roll call, please?
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Pearson.
Here.
Stubbs.
Here.
Muhammad.
Here.
Hunt. Kenya.
Present.
Okay, let the record reflect that Trustee Hunt, is not here today. Did you hear from Trustee Hunt? Okay. We have a quorum tonight. Also let the record reflect that our department heads are here. Village Administrator Stan Urban. Okay. Any communications?
Yes. Charters Youth Commission, Dolton Fire Department, and Dolton Police Department, and Trustee Robert E. Pearson Jr. Christmas food basket giveaway. All applications may be picked up at the Dolton Fire Station, number 14022 South Park Avenue, Dolton, Illinois, Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. For more information or any questions, you may contact Mr. Edward Creighton or Mrs. Felita Creighton at 312-607-7306 or by email at charters.creighton@yahoo.com. That's it, Mayor.
Okay, that's all for communications. Thank you. Let's move on to any old business. No, new business. Mr. Urban.
New business, Mayor and Council. What you have before you tonight is ordinance number 15-050. It's amending the current existing Calumet Enterprise Zone and an intergovernmental agreement. Mr. Chandler is here, who represents CNT, which is the Center for Neighborhood Technology, who has been commissioned by the SSMMA to spearhead the application for the enterprise zone with the state of Illinois. Mr. Chandler is here to answer any questions. I don't feel that there really is a need for any questions. This is just an amendment to an existing document, moving forward with the process with the state of Illinois.
Okay, any discussion on this or what? Okay. Can we get a motion on this amendment, ordinance number 15-050, to amend the current
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
The gentleman is here to speak on anything about it?
If you have questions, he's here to answer any questions, yes.
Yeah, it'd be good if he kind of speak on what's going on, so maybe.
Mr. Chandler, if you could step up to the podium, please. Do you have a specific question you might have, Mr. Brown?
No, I don't. He just kind of explained the little process, so.
Don't you need the motion to go to the podium?
Right over here, Mr. Chandler.
Yeah. Who will need a motion first? We can discuss that. Yeah.
So you may be familiar with the Illinois Enterprise Zone Act, that through this all the existing enterprise zones are being sunset. are being, when they expire, and new applications need to be made for new enterprise zones. So the Calumet area, which includes your village and 5 others, made an application to create a new Calumet enterprise zone. That application was very highly rated by the state of Illinois by the criteria that are in the law. However, the state, the Enterprise Zone Board, made an interpretation of a paragraph that's in the law which said, in effect, that if you have an existing enterprise zone, you can't apply until less than 2 years when your old enterprise zone expires. And because we had an old enterprise zone, including 3 of the towns, including Dolton, they wouldn't consider our application, even though it had been highly rated by the staff. So we needed to take this amendment, which is before you, to do 2 things. One is to amend the existing enterprise zone so that all the communities and the territory that was included in the application becomes part of the existing enterprise zone. And the reason for that is so that all of the area can be included in an enterprise zone during a year-long period, which is what it takes the state to consider the application. The other part of the ordinance deals with making the new application, in effect, refiling our application to create a new enterprise zone. And the state will look at that new application or refiled application, and it takes them about 9 months to go through the application. So unless something very odd happens, this enterprise zone will be approved about September of next year. Does that answer your question, Trustee?
I just wanted the residents to know what was going on.
Sure.
That information, they need to hear that also. But this here do expire December 31st,
Our
2015?
This enterprise zone expires, January 1st of 2017.
The present.
Yeah, the present enterprise zone does, yeah. So now it's time for us to apply, and we can be within the state's, the new interpretation of the state law.
And what other villages does this here we connected with?
Let me just check the list here. The city of Calumet City, the village of Lansing, the village of Riverdale, the village of South Holland, the village of Thornton, and the village of Lansing, and Cook County.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, folks? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we get a motion to approve ordinance number 15-050?
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 15-050.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Trustee Pearson and seconded by Trustee Brown to approve ordinance number 15-050 for the amendment of the current existing Calumet Enterprise Zone. Any discussion? No discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Brown,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
Stubbs,
Aye.
Muhammad,
Aye.
Hilliard. Aye.
Motion carries 5 ayes. Okay, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting of trustees and go into the committee of the whole meeting.
Motion to adjourn the regular board meeting.
Second.
It's been motioned and second to adjourn the regular board meeting. Roll call.
Trustee Brown,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
Stubbs,
Aye.
Muhammad,
Aye.
Hilliard. Aye.
Okay, at this time, it's 7:47. We will call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Committee of the Whole, Monday, November 16, 2015. We won't go through the Pledge of Allegiance or prayer anymore. Just have a roll call, please.
Trustee Brown,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
Stubbs,
Here.
Muhammad,
Here.
Hilliard. Present.
Okay, let the record reflect that we have a quorum. 5 trustees are here. Also, our department heads, village administrator. Okay, any general announcements?
No, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Some of the
I have
trustees.
Trustee Pearson,
Okay.
can we hold those to after C?
Yes,
General
I can.
announce, okay, before the citizens address.
Sure.
All right, Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on the order of business is A. I'm here to discuss the water rates that apply to the residents and the business owners here in the village of Dolton. In your packet is a letter dated November 17th, 2011, from the Department of Water Management, City of Chicago. It basically says that the mayor of the City of Chicago is raising the water rates a total of 65%. That started on January 1st, 2012, and is going to, the last increase was in January 1st, 2015. What it did was, in 2011, the rate the village was paying was $2.01 per 1,000 gallons. Today, we are paying $3.81 per 1,000 gallons. That's a 65% increase. The other documents that you have in there is, one of them is a document from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, Office of Water Resources, where it shows you most of the communities in the south suburbs, such as Elsa, Blue Island, Burnham, Homewood, Hazelcrest. There's about 30 of them on here. If you notice, we're right under the town of Dixmoor. Our current rate is $5.61 per 1,000 gallons. Dixmoor is $12.52. You will also notice that out of this group, there is only 2 towns that are lower than what we are, that being Burnham and Chicago Heights. The other towns are all averaging between $8 and $12 per 1,000 gallons, which is anywhere from $3 to $7 more than what we are charging right now. There's also a document in there that says Village of Dolton water rate increase step rate chart. It's showing you that if we charged 5 cents more per unit, it would go to $5.66, and it progressively goes all the way up to 80 cents more, which would bring it to $6.41, which we would still be in the lower third of the price range of South Cook. There's another document that was prepared by staff that shows you that the projected income from a 5-cent increase, just taking the average bill, the minimum bill, would raise an additional $15,000 of revenue a year. If you agreed to go up to as high as 80 cents, it would generate $240,000 just from the minimum billing. What's interesting is, going back to the first statement that I made, that we are now paying $3.81. We are charging $5.61. Yes, there is a profit, $1.80 to cover the cost of the payroll, the paper, the postage, the computer time, the overall day-to-day activities. I'm here to tell you that we are losing money in the water department every time we send out a bill. It's that simple. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but this board needs to consider raising the rates that were not put into place by previous administrations when they got this letter in 2011 that the rates were all going to go up. Nobody did anything about it. You have put into place, since I've been here, which is 2 years almost, going next month, a water rate increase that is a pass-through to provide payment back to the IEPA for the loan, for the $4 million loan to convert our system. That's just a pass-through. What we need to look at is, do we want to raise the rates 80 cents, go to $6.41 to raise $240,000 so that we can take care of the infrastructure? And what I mean by the infrastructure, I think Mr. Stacy could attest to the fact, the pipes in this town are older than the pipes in my body. They need to be fixed. We have water leaks. We're losing money in the ground that we're paying for. We do what is called an LMO. Every town does. When we got here 2 years ago, we were losing over 20% of the water we were buying in the ground. When I call the mayor of Chicago, or Mr. Powers, the deputy mayor and in charge of the water department for the city of Chicago, and say, I really shouldn't pay for this because we didn't use it, they kind of laugh. They said, fix your pipes. We have taken a step in the right direction. This year, Mr. Stacy came to me and said, Mr. Urban, about 2 or 3 years ago, the board bought SCADA, is that the right word, Matt? SCADA measuring devices, meters. They were $20,000 a piece. They were sitting in a box in the warehouse. What those are is to make sure that the city of Chicago isn't cheating us on our water bill. Our SCADA meters were not operable. They could have said we were getting 10 million gallons, and we didn't have any way to prove that we weren't. We have put those in. We spent the money to get them installed, but we do need to do increases because we have issues with our infrastructure. That's the end of my speech, and I would ask that the board give us direction if they want us to move forward and present a water increase rate ordinance or continue to lose money on a day-to-day basis.
How old are those pipes?
They're older than what's in me, and I'm old.
You know,
And it's serious. And I
Right, it is.
appreciate it. I like
It
to
is.
bring a little levity to everything, but this is a serious matter.
Right.
I don't want to hurt the residents or the business community, but we'd be better off not sending out the bills because we're losing money.
Right. To expand on what Mr. Urban said, he didn't bring up the fact that we incur additional costs for overtime and things like that for water main breaks. And any given winter, depending on how severe it is, and we've had some water main breaks already, it hasn't been cold yet, we may run into a, I won't say a problem with overtime, but we may run into overtime. They usually seem to happen all the time over the weekend, where we have to call people out to fix the water main breaks. The other thing is that some of these rates on here that are lower, like Chicago Heights pump their own water. So they're able to have a little bit lower rate. All of these suburbs also do not receive their water from the city of Chicago. Some of them receive their water from Harvey. So we receive our water from the city of Chicago, and with this increase over the last 4 years, we're at 65%. We did not pass that cost off. So it's something that we seriously need to look at.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Urban, did you do not so much a cost analysis, but an example of a bill? For example, if I pay $120 on a bill every quarter, let's say that's my average bill, and we do the increase at the maximum, which is the 80 cent, what would my bill be increased to, just approximately? I know that includes sewer and
It would
garbage
be
pickup.
less than $5 on the minimum bill
Increase.
of an increase, yes. Less than $5, closer to $4, actually.
The rate will be based on the minimum rate.
Right.
For example, if it's $5.61, you go add 80 cents on that, whatever it equates to, and that rate is per 1,000 gallons. Right now, the rate is $5.61 per 1,000 gallons. So if you're using the minimum, just like Mr. Urban said, your bill will probably go up about $5 or so.
And what it does is, it's not only increasing money that we need for infrastructure, it will educate the public to turn their faucets off, that don't turn it on to let it run, and then turn around and open your refrigerator door and let your water run. That's just a waste of energy, a waste of a resource that this planet is going to run out of someday. We need to start being more economically in tuned to what our resources are. We just can't let it go down the drain. That when people have leaks in their toilets, they think, oh, it's just a drop, a drop, a drop. If the ball cock is leaking in a toilet bowl, you can lose up to 100 gallons a day.
One other question, Mayor, if I could. What kind of notice do we give the residents? Let's say we agree on some increase. What kind of notice would they get to know that their increase is forthcoming?
Well, that would be set forth if we got the direction to move forward. What administration would recommend is each one, we have 3 cycles right now, 3 sections of the town. We would, depending on when this would pass, we would give notification of, let's say, section 1, if that came out hypothetically January 1st. In their bill, it would say, your next bill coming in the next 3 months is going to be increased. Then when we would do section 2, they would be notified. So there would actually be a 3-month lag period.
Will there be some type of explanation? Because I know if I got a bill that said an increase of, how much are we talking about if we do the max, the 80 cent?
About $4
I mean,
per household.
percentage-wise, I think that's the language that's used.
It's less than 4%.
So I think it would behoove us if we would have some type of explanation, because I know if I got a bill that was going up, I would want to know why.
Well, the advantage we have now, trustee, if you remember the last meeting, we had our first mailer with a envelope and a full 8.5 by 11. There was a third of that paper that we will put in bold print. Please read the inserts. We can also insert up to, I believe it's 3 8.5 by 11s without going over weight and paying more for our postage. So that we would probably include the rate increase from the city of Chicago showing where it's gone up 65%. And we would do a breakdown of showing where we are not Harvey, we are not Homewood, we are not Hazelcrest, where we're charging 10, 11, 12, 12.52 like Dixmoor. We would show them this comparison just like you saw it today, and also an explanation as to why, because of the infrastructure.
We may also want to consider, like some communities have, they have a different rate for commercial. It's a little bit higher rate. So,
Yes, Harvey charges the residents $7.60 per unit, which is still higher than ours, but for the commercial, and this could be why Harvey is hurting with commercial business, they charge $53.56
per 1,000
per
gallons of
1,000
water.
gallons.
It's unbelievable.
I can tell you, if I had a business, I surely wouldn't open it in Harvey.
I just think the residents should get a letter in detail explaining it, because I know I would be irate if I had received any type of increase whether on any utility, but if I can get some letter that simply lays it out, I'd pay begrudgingly, but at least I understood.
We at least now have the mailing of the actual water bill. We have the Sentinel newspaper, and we have TV America out there now.
Well, my only concern is an increase would hurt everybody, but people that go to work every day would be able to pay it a lot easier than seniors that's on fixed incomes and struggling to pay the current bill. And as crazy as this might sound, and I don't know if it's doable, but if we could have some kind of senior rate where the seniors, not a reduction in what they currently pay, but don't feel the full brunt of an increase, an 80 cents increase, but non-seniors would pay the full increase if we choose to raise that.
That can definitely be written into the ordinance. What we would have to do is have the seniors literally come to us with a form of ID showing us they're a senior.
Yeah.
And then we would adjust or keep their rate, if that's what the board wanted, at $5.61. And non-seniors would be at XYZ. Yes, that can be done.
Thank you.
I had expressed the once a month billing. And when will that occur? Because it's easier for the residents to come up with the water bill money once a month as opposed to lump sum every quarterly. Is that?
It is in the works. It's been in the works since May of 14 when I brought it forward. We are still probably at least 10 to 12 months away from getting that complete conversion done.
Thank you.
And with that being said, is it a possibility we can, seeing that we have TV land and the newspaper, if we can get that information out to seniors and as well as the residents, some type of survey before we put this in place?
We can do whatever the board wants us to do.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying this
My
here.
question, just so we know that when you see the numbers in the budget that we're losing money in the water department, I'm on record as saying I've showed you why.
Well, I'm speaking as a resident first, then as a trustee. As a resident, I would like this information forefront so I could at least look at it and, well, then I can start planning. For the most part, if it's needed, I'm more than certain that the residents probably get on board, but I'd like to give them a chance to plan, as well as myself.
I want to make sure I understand what I just heard about a survey, because if I got a survey of whether or not I want my bill raised, I think everybody know what my answer is on that. That's like getting a survey from the federal government on our taxes. No one wants to pay fees or taxes. Again, I think if we put a detailed explanation of what's happening and what would cushion the blow that Trustee Stubbs is talking about, let them know in the future, within a year, we will be at the monthly reading, and they should see some reduction. Even though it's an increase, it'll seem like a reduction because you're paying it monthly instead of quarterly. But I wouldn't agree with the survey.
And what I say by survey, that mean you at least value my opinion. Whether we go that way or not, it's about valuing an individual's opinion. So everyone has opinion, and everyone has a right to speak on what they feel they would like to have. So that's where the survey come from my end. I feel very comfortable with the survey.
Anything else?
I would only ask that staff communicate with me as quickly as they can, their thoughts via email or come into the office and sit down and talk, so that we have, meaning staff has a clear direction as to where we're going to go with this.
Yeah.
We don't, I didn't expect an answer tonight. It's a lot to swallow, but we need to consider it. I wouldn't be doing justice to the community, to the board, to anybody if I didn't bring this out, that we are losing money in that department.
When we got the notice for the increase went into effect January 1st, 2012 at 25% increase. We got the notice November 17, 2011, less than a month and a half prior to the increase going into effect. Now, this 4-year increase, it was every January 1st there was an increase. 25% the first year, 2012, 15% every year thereafter, through and including 2015. So there is a possibility with some of the financial situations that Chicago's going through, and they've increased a lot of fees throughout the city. There's a possibility we may get another letter like this saying that they're going to increase our water again. So we have to take that into consideration also when we go forward and plan this.
Mayor,
Yes.
I got a comment. I am against the increase, and the reason being is I do talk to Dolton residents, mainly seniors, and every senior is either on a fixed income and they can't afford the increase. They barely can afford their bills now. Most of them are losing their homes, currently in foreclosure. So I don't think by increasing anything at this moment would be feasible for the board to move Dolton in the right direction. I think that at least you guys should consider a year later on an increase and not currently. I think that we should personally go back to the budget and scrub the budget down, because if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Urban, you did say this would raise $15,000 of income, correct?
Depending on the rate that you would increase it, it would go from $15,000 to $240,000.
Okay, so if we increase that and you say we're gonna make 15 for the year, that's alone 15,000 in salaries from whether it's raises, new positions that I feel we can scrub down, and there's the money for the water right there.
That would only be at a 5-cent increase.
But that's, I'm telling you my opinion, how I feel about it. I just think that if we backtrack and go over our steps and fix what we have first before we make the residents responsible for that increase. That's just my intake on it.
In some kind of way, we have to figure out a way to handle a 65% increase in water over the last 4 years. Every one of those years, we've sustained water main breaks, And we need to take a look at the overtime that we pay out during that season when we have most of the water main breaks. So not only will we absorb the cost of the 65% increase, we also absorb the cost of overtime for providing service with water main breaks. As those water main do break, I should say, that's going against our meter. So if it takes a day or so, and sometimes it takes 2 days, depending on the severity of the break, to cap it off, to get it where it's not leaking anymore, and our meter continues to run while that water is leaking out of that main. So it's just something to consider.
One other thought, if you permit me, Mayor. Maybe we need to have a town hall meeting, and the residents can come forward where we can educate them on why we need to go up. And I say why we need to go up because we're currently still on payment plan to Chicago, right?
We are paying, for the last 11 months, we are paying our monthly bill that we get every month, and we are on a payment plan that we will be paid up in May of 17.
And these are the things that I think at a town hall meeting the residents should know, and that we're also considering having a discounted rate for seniors and those who are on fixed income, and maybe with a town hall meeting with some of the input before we even send correspondence out to the residents of what's in front of us so they can understand what our dilemma is. It's not only this board's dilemma, as Trustee Brown said, it's a dilemma of the residents. We all need to be kept abreast of this and educated. And just for a note, Mayor, we are now being live streamed as we speak.
Right.
So we can have those residents in present and also be able to call in their concerns on a live stream broadcast. So maybe that's something we can consider before this vote.
I agree.
I think that's a good idea.
I do too, but besides doing that, I think we should have some hard figures as to what we're losing, because you cannot, out of fear of raising the, not wanting to raise the bill, continue to lose money. I mean, if the village is truly losing money with every bill we send out, we've got to right that ship somehow. So to talk with the residents about the increase, we should also let them know just how much we're losing, and see if anybody's open with other ways of bringing revenue in to right this ship here.
Can I say one thing? And if the profit is only $1.80, that's not much of a profit either.
To cover your expenses.
I think when Mr. Urban spoke of profit, he didn't mean literally a profit. I think he talked about, what he meant was a margin of what we're paying for water and then the margin of what we're charging for water. But that margin you said was $1.60 or something like that, whatever
correct.
it was. That certainly does not cover the expense of water main repairs in the wintertime when we have, especially the severe ones. So I wouldn't literally take that as a profit.
No, and I'm sorry if I didn't. I tried to explain by saying, you elaborated as the water main breaks. It was the postage, the paper, the
Right.
handling of the computer time.
Right.
That's eats up that $1.80.
Yeah.
That's why I think a town hall meeting is important, because when you say the word profit, we, in a municipality, we don't deal with profits. I mean, we're talking about the cost of goods and services, and I know as a resident, if I'm hearing that my village is making a profit, I'm taken aback by that. That's why I think it's a town hall meeting is important to educate the residents and ourselves on what we're losing and what we need to do to make up.
We had a report. We had what company was that came in and took the evaluation of the leakage that we had? You remember that, Ron? Okay, and
Detection report for the hydrants and water mains.
right. What was the outcome of that? I don't remember.
We
I know
did-
we were losing water.
We repaired 23 water main breaks last year.
Yeah, and we still had seepage from the old infrastructure. So, I mean, if we can get that report, you can refresh the trustees' memory in regards to the losses that we sustained without water main breaks due to the aging infrastructure. So, And I know that came up in one of the board meetings when it was done. Okay, you want to get a consensus on this? You want to talk about it more? How you want to approach this?
What I hear is that there's a consensus to have a town hall meeting in the near future to make the presentation as to why a increase is needed and to get input from the residents. That's what I heard.
I concur.
I would suggest that we, in doing so, maybe reach out to City of Chicago and see if they anticipate any additional increases.
I actually had the pleasure of speaking with Commissioner Powers today, and he wouldn't answer, but I'll reach out to him again.
Okay.
So that tells me I think something's coming down the pipe.
Right. The notice that we received, like I said before, was less than a month and a half notice that we were going to sustain a 25% increase. So, without a warning. Okay, can we move forward?
Next item is B, Mayor. The title of it is Secure View. Trustee Stubbs asked that this be placed on the agenda, and at that point, I'll turn it over to Trustee Stubbs.
Good evening. Crimes are attracted to neighborhoods that appear dirty and unkept. One bad building can ruin a whole block. One bad store can ruin a whole neighborhood. By working with police and other village departments, public works, housing, and code enforcement, we can help hold landlords, banks, store owners accountable for criminal or nuisance activities that may be occurring on their property. We can change the face of vacant and abandoned properties with Secure View. Secure View increases a property's marketable ability due to improper curb appeal. It reduces squatters and crimes. Mr. Andrew, who lived on 148th in Oak, he lives in between two abandoned houses. Across the street from Mr. Andrew, there are two abandoned houses with plywood on them. He's a senior. Sometime he called me and asked me, can you send a police car down the street, because him and his other neighborhoods are in fear of their life going inside of their homes. But with Clear View, it's a clear plastic as opposed to the board ups that you see on the abandoned houses. It looks like a thick plexiglass. It has bars on the back of it. Myself and Trustee Pearson actually took a hammer and tried to break this product. And we can hold the banks, if they own the property, accountable for putting this plastic up to deter the criminals from going inside a boarded up house. Even when the police go outside to an abandoned house and the house is boarded up, it's easy if the police can see through the house. With the plywood, they cannot. And the cost is more than the plywood, but in the event someone take the plywood off of the house, you have to go back, get somebody else to board it up, and that'll occur another cost. So I was asking Mr. Urban, could he check into the price of Secure View? And it enhances our neighborhood as opposed to a house with plywood that's vacant that's next door to you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else on that?
It is a product that is being used. Actually, one of our neighbors to the West Phoenix has been using it now for a number of years. It has everything that Trustee Stubbs just said, which is curb appeal and life safety issues. It is double the price of what plywood is. As she said, though, that if you have to replace the plywood, then it comes into place. The other thing that is important about this is that it is reusable. Most importantly, whether it's plywood or whether it's secure view sheets that are used to board up, we get our money back eventually when the house is sold. We do. So whether it's 10 cents on a dollar or $100 on $1,000, we're going to get our money back long term. It just, what the issue that's brought out is the fact that what brings a neighborhood down or street appeal down quicker than anything else is a board up. These do not look like houses that are boarded up. They look like they're open. They're windows.
And the good thing that I saw with the Clearview was that when the police walk up to a house, they can see through it. When the neighbor that lives next door comes and pulls up in their driveway, you can actually see through the window, and you know nobody's in that house, and you don't have to worry. And it, as Trustee Stubbs says, it keeps squatters from moving into these houses, because right now, if you have a boarded up house next to your house, you don't know if somebody's living in there. If you don't see them going in, I mean, if the door's in the back or on the other side of the house, they could be going and coming just as you are in your house, and you don't know what kind of element is in there. But this really just brings the curb appeal, makes it look nice. I mean, we have several boarded up houses on Sibley. You put glass in them, and now they don't look so bad when you drive down the street. I think it's a great product. As Trustee Stubbs said, we actually, they put you in a booth with this product, and they give you hammers, and you see if you could break it, and we couldn't break it. I really tried to break it, but it's a strong product, and I think it's a good idea to do.
The product is available locally here in the Chicagoland area. What we can do as staff is we can call in our board-up companies now that we're using, see if they're familiar with the product, and if the board so desires, we can tell them that this is the product we want to use going forward. I also had conversation upon returning back from the convention where we saw this product with the county. The county has been very helpful with demos in this town of tearing down dilapidated old buildings. They are putting together a program where they are going to be offering board-up services. It's not going to replace the need for regular board-up companies, because the people that they're using for the tear-downs, it's basically a educational program. They're taking people that are incarcerated and giving them training on trades, how to drive a forklift, how to, tear down a house. Well, at 2 o'clock in the morning when we need a board up, they're not going to be able to get the incarcerated person out of 26 in California, bring them down here to do a board up. So we will be able to save money once they get their program up and running on what we'll call normal board ups, where we can wait 24 to 48 hours to get it boarded up. The county can do it and it won't cost us anything other than the materials. So if this board wishes, staff will start meeting with our board-up company, see if they're familiar with this product, and go forward if this is the direction this board wants to go.
Question. I too saw that same demonstration, and I asked the cost of this, and it's extremely higher than plywood. And when we say we ask those installers to put them in, and you say they're reusable, how do we work it out with those that would install this? Because you'll see a significant increase in the price. How do we know what's being reused so that we can get a discount when we're charged for the boarding up? How is that going to be monitored?
We would actually buy the product now, store it in the Public Works. They would come to Public Works, get the product that's needed, go out to the house. We would have to set up a system internally that we know the house on XYZ Street has got 5 sheets of plastic on it. We then have to coordinate with the housing department, with Ms. Fields, that when that house is sold, that we go back and collect those products and return it back to the inventory. It would be like an easy rental, except instead of renting tools, we're renting out the plastic sheets.
So instead of going through all that hassle of trying to obtain what we sold, why don't we just charge the bank for that and be done with it? Because if I'm not mistaken, that costs like $115 per window. So
We
if it
can
was
charge the bank
$115,
that, and we can also, the banks, I can tell you, don't care whether they get the plastic or the plywood when they're selling the property. They just want to get it off their
right.
books.
But what I'm saying, so we don't have to go in that property again. We can just get our costs off the front end of it.
We can do that as well.
Okay.
In some cases, it may not be feasible to put that up during emergency situations if you got a fire.
Right.
And the house has to be boarded up right away, and the board up companies come out, where the property has to be secured right away, so you have to take that in consideration also.
No, it's not the end all. It's not gonna, the mayor used a perfect example of a house that's burned. It's got to be done right away. We may not have enough plastic in-house to do it, but the majority of our board ups that are being done, we do have the time to use products like this.
Yeah.
So does the board want me to pursue this with staff to see what the installers would do and how it would work out, or? is
My answer is yes.
And I say with that, we're not looking at going to try and do 3 or 4 or 5 houses. We're going to use like an example, probably go in one house and see how that works out.
Well, there's volume in buying the discounts in buying the volume. But, you know, whether we do one, I first want to make sure that the installers we have now, the board of companies, will even work with this product. We don't know that. I don't see why they wouldn't, but we have not reached out to them yet.
I think we should talk to the attorney about it first to see that we can put a lien on that property for that. Say it costs us $400 for one house and it got 4 windows, for instance. How do we make sure we get paid and we just not spending money and not getting a return on it? So it can be attached to that house. So say, I'll give you an example. You have a house right here on the corner. We go in, we board it up with this plastic. It cost us $400. What's next? Pretty much, how will we get that $400 right back? Are we gonna put a lien on the property? What's the steps? That's what I would like to know.
Ms. Fields should be able to answer that, or I'll try to start with. We'll use as an example the grass cutting that takes place. There are houses that we have spent well over $400 in a grass season, cutting season. It's automatically a lien that goes against the property. We don't even have to file a lien for that. In this case, we may have to file a judgment lien, which costs, I think it's $25 or $35.
40.
62?
62.
$62.
40 used to be.
That can be done internal by staff. We can turn it over to the attorneys. It's nothing to file the judgment.
Right. But I just want to know the process and then how we're going to obtain these things.
You put the judgment in, and it could be a day, it could be a year, it could be 10 years before the house
Well, what do we
is
do
sold.
for plywood?
What do we do for what?
Recovering for plywood. I mean, this is, you're talking probably another $70 a sheet. I think the plywood's about $40 to $42 a sheet, and this
No.
is $115 a sheet.
Yeah, they use the cheapest plywood. A lot of times they use particle board
Yeah.
to put up to those windows, so they use the cheapest grade. It's unfinished on both sides. You can get it for probably about between $12 and $16 a sheet.
Correct.
Yes.
Just food for thought on this whole subject. Okay, I'm sorry. Just a little food for thought on this board-up subject. When we use plywood, we've adopted the 2012 International Building Code, the Property Maintenance Code exactly, talks about board up. And with board up, the paint, according to the code, it has to be painted a contrasting color to the house. It's a lot cheaper to put that board up there on a window and paint it a contrasting color to the house. So if the house is white, we paint the board white. The board up company is responsible for that as well. It's a lot cheaper to do that than to run with that plastic. That's just my personal opinion, and we do have it in the ordinance to enforce that.
I was going to suggest that because a lot of communities, they once the house is boarded up, they paint it, and it looks a little bit more attractive.
Just a contrasting color, that's all it needs.
Well, I like the plastic. It's a safety issue for me. It makes it a lot easier on police officers and squatters. So I think we need to look at doing whatever we need to do to make it safer.
It deter a criminal from even approaching the house, because if it's clear plastic, they don't know if it's occupied or unoccupied. And I'm in favor of the plastic for safety issues, for appealing purposes, for our curb appeal, so it don't look like we have abundance of abandoned houses in our communities, and maybe that would attract some home buyers to come into our village to buy homes as opposed to investors.
Charles, I have a question for you. Over there in Lansing, do you guys use what you're speaking of now? Meaning the board up and then you guys paint it? Is that what happening?
Actually, in the town that I grew up in doing property maintenance in, we did use the board up service, and the minute they changed the codes to the contrasting colors, that's exactly what we did. When we boarded up a property, the board up company was required to paint it as well, the contrasting color to the house.
Okay, thank you. Well, I am in agreement with what Charles was speaking of, and Mayor, you did mention that it could be a safety issue if the fire department comes out and has to enter the property. And the reason why I'm going towards that route is because...
No, I didn't say it would be a safety issue if the fire department has to come out into the property. I said on some cases, if you get a fire at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the property is open, it should be secured immediately in some cases. So, so that's where I didn't think that the plastic part would play a part if it's over in public works or things like that. They just come right out and board it up once the call is made by the dispatch.
And that's understandable.
Yeah.
But I think we need to look at the code and see what the code says about plastic, and if there's nothing in there, we need to do some inquiries to see what has to be done, because this is being used all over the country. The class that, the session that we took talked about this being utilized and how it increased the property values, because now you have a vacant house, you can see through the whole house. It's not being cluttered by people who break in, squatters who break in, or drug dealers, or people who just break in to shoot up drugs. You don't have that because they can see through the window. So why would you want plywood up on the window, the whole house boarded up? You have no idea what's going on in that house, and I think it's better to just be able to see through it. That's my opinion, and I think we need to look further into it. If it's a code issue, we should look into it. We are home rule, and we could look and see how we could bypass this if it is an issue. I can't understand why that would be a problem. And Mr. Urban, you said that another community is using this. You said
Phoenix.
Maybe we should talk to Phoenix and find out what issues they have. Maybe they don't have the same codes we have. They didn't come up to 2012, but we need to look at it.
And if I may state, even if a board-up house was next to me, and if it was painted the same color as the house, you don't know who's inside of there next door to you.
That's right.
So what would you rather have? Something that you can visually see through, or something that's painted the same color as the house and you cannot see on the other side? Even if something is happening in there and the police go in there, they don't know who's on the other side. It's a safety issue along with curb appeal. I don't want to live next door to a board-up house. I live across the street from an ugly monstrosity. I don't want to see that.
Plastic.
Thank you.
I have a question of Mr. Johnson. In the code book, does it specifically say that it has to be plywood?
No, sir, it does not, and
Okay,
actually...
thank you.
But I was just going to say, actually, the board-up system that you're talking about is mentioned in there as well, but it doesn't mention a specific name. So it's just a choice. That's all it is. I'm not trying to say, don't do this. I'm just giving you some options.
And I do hear you, Charles. That's why I said I agree. And the reason why I agreed is because of cost. It costs less to do that than the see-through. Now, if the board wants to go forward with it, as long as that you can say how we're going to recoup the dollars, the amount that we're going to spend for this see-through, then I'm all for it. If we don't have no game plan on getting the money back, I'm not for it, because we just basically sent something across the board to raise water rates. How are we gonna do this? That's all.
I have one more thing to say, because I can't put a price on a human being's life.
This is
Whether
not,
it be a police officer getting injured, a resident getting injured, I prefer to see, because night don't have no eyes.
and my comment to that would be, this has been going on for the last 30 years, board up companies, and it has been working. There's nothing wrong with that. This is what we learned when we went to Nashville, basically something new. All I'm saying is I'm for it as long as we can figure out how we're going to recoup the dollars. That's it. And it has nothing to do with safety. It's just the money. We keep trying to charge the residents for everything, but here we want to bring something new to the community where we're going to advocate and get the dollars from. That's it.
And again, talking about what Trustee Stubbs just spoke on, all it takes is one of these houses to have somebody pulled up in there and you don't know what's going on behind that plywood that you can't see through. So to save one life or to prevent one crime that could be a serious crime, I think it's very worth the little addition of expense to this village.
Chief Collins,
Yes, ma'am.
may I ask you, I don't know if you can give me the exact numbers of break-ins that we have in this community, but can you tell me, do we have a little break-ins or do we have a large amount of break-ins in this community?
We have a significant amount, but as it pertains to vacant properties, just to give you a little bit of insight, vacant properties attract the undesirables. First, they attract the squatters. Homeless people who obviously have no place to go, they pick these properties, and some because they're easy to get into. Plywood is a little bit easy to rip off the back of a door, and you have no idea if anybody's living in there or not. They also attract juveniles because they like to find places where they can go and play and do mischief. They also attract drug users where they can smoke and shoot dope. So it presents a very specific problem for police officers, because when the neighbors call and say they see somebody going inside a property, we are the ones that have to go in there. And usually when the homes are boarded up, it's pretty dark in there. So we have to go in there with flashlights, watch our steps. If it's a dilapidated property, it presents another danger of injuries. As much light as we can get in there, if these properties are boarded up with the clear view, that'd be great. That's wonderful. But either way, the police officers have to go in there. And there are significant amounts of break-ins. Another reason people go in there is so they could cut out and steal the copper piping so they can take it and sell it. So there are problems with vacant properties, and whatever we can do to alleviate those problems, we should explore all avenues.
Thank you, Chief.
I think that if a person wants to get into a building, you could put a vault door up there. They go get in there. You know, I understand the rationale about, you talk about security. As a former police officer, my in going to a call that on a house that's boarded up, I think I would rather have a boarded up house and then check the securement, the perimeter, and check the securement of it, versus a house with plexiglass or that type of securement. In some cases, I think, yeah, it's necessary and it could be utilized. But just as well as when a police officer is approaching the building at night, if there's somebody in there that can see out, they can see where to hide, they know where to hide, they know all your movements and where to ambush you if they need to. Mm-hmm. And you can't see that approaching. Just since I've been mayor here, we've located some houses that squatters and marijuana growers they occupied the house, but they occupied the basement. So from the outside, you can't tell whether they're in the house. We found it by accident. The house looked totally secured. We're over there cutting weeds now, and there was a little small hole in a piece of plywood that boarded up the basement. When I went by it, I saw the light shining through it, and they had a bunch of. They had been growing. I'm not sure, Matt, was the marijuana plants there? No, I think the marijuana plants were gone, but all the lights were still there, like they just harvested. So we went around the house. It looked totally secure and everything. And then we found out that they had taken the back portion that was boarded up and put hinges on that wood so they can open it up and get back in. And they put a latch on it so it looked like it was secure. And they had taken the electric meter out and hot wired the terminal so they can get light there. So I think in certain cases it probably would work, would apply. But I think in regards to securement, if they want to get in there, they get in there. And some of these people that strip the houses of their structural stuff, copper, toilets, vanities, sinks, they get in there, secured or not.
You're right, they're gonna get in it if it's a steel door.
Yeah. So
I just think it makes it look better.
In some cases, I think there could be a use for those. But in regards to if the securement aspect, if they want in, they get in.
Well, the last thing I'm gonna say on the subject is, if I'm looking to purchase a house and I drive down and I see 5 houses boarded up with these big boards on it, I probably won't buy. Whereas if I went down that block and I saw what looks like a window and it's clear and it just looks like it's a vacant property that's being maintained, that I might tend to buy in that community or on that block. But I'm definitely gonna keep going. If I see all these board ups, I see a bunch of plywood, boom, I'm going right on through your community. That's what I think people see.
Okay, where are we?
The next item for discussion this evening was presented by Trustee Henyard under the general topic of housing.
Thank you. Good evening, residents. Thank you for coming out this evening. Pretty much, the board went to a conference in Nashville, Tennessee. We learned a lot of different things as it relates to housing. That's why you see this discussion going on. And the one thing that I liked the most was about the vacant property ordinance. What that entails is, if your property is vacant, you have to come to the village and register it as a vacant property. The fee currently now is only $50. Now, I did talk to Ms. Fields, who's Director of Housing, and she wants to increase that to, I believe, $100. And then I also talked to Charles, who's the building inspector, and he wants to increase it to $100. So now I'm asking that the board consider increasing the fee from $50 to $100. But on top of that, I'm all for residents. I would like it to stay at $50 for the Dolton residents, and then for the banks, charge them $100. Because I don't understand or see that a Dolton resident will come to the village and pretty much telling themselves and say, well, my property's vacant and we're gonna collect the $50. So we be friendly with the fees. I think you will get more people coming forward saying, my property's vacant, I'm waiting on a tenant, can it stay to the $50? When it comes to banks, when people in foreclosure or lose their homes, they should definitely register the property. And not only that, we would now have better control on what properties are vacant. And basically, don't you know how you driving down the street, like, who owns this property? You can come to the village and Denise will have a list, and she'll have it says vacant, and then she'll have the information basically given from the bank saying Bank of America owns this house, and then she'll have a contact information. That way no one's kind of fishing for who owns the property. And now I just want to open it up to the board to see how they feel about direction. And then also, Charles, I'd like your input too. And Denise.
So right now, it's $100 fee.
It's $50 right now?
But
I just want to add one thing and say this. So far, I have not seen any vacant properties come in that are individually owned properties. They're all bank-owned or HUD or Fannie Mae or VA. They're not individually owned. So my initial time that I talked to Administrator Urban about raising the fee initially was $200, and that's after looking across all the suburban villages, as Mayor say, look around our villages. Mostly everybody's fee is $200 around in this area.
And that's when I went and I spoke with Charles, and Charles stated the fee is $100 from everywhere he was at. Is that correct, Charles?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So that's the reason why I proposed $100 to the board for going forward. That's it. If anybody want to
I want to make sure I understand. We want to go from 200 to, we want to reduce the fee
No, increase it. It's at $50 now.
from
We
50 to 100.
Correct.
That's the bottom line of what you want. You want to go from 50 to 100.
Correct.
But a discount to the residents who have a vacant property.
Right, but Denise just stated it's only bank-owned property, so if that's the case, then I'm fine with it.
Any discussion?
I have a question about enforcement. I'm all for laws and bylaws and statutes. I'm Chase Bank and I own 25 homes in this town. How does Denise know that I own these homes? Who's gonna come knock on Chase's door and say, get your butt into the village and give me $100 per house?
Pretty
So
much.
I'm all in for favor of it. I just need to know how to enforce it.
Okay, I got two comments to that. One, we pass ordinance every day here as it relates to anything, and I always ask that question, how we're going to enforce it, but we still make it into law. Secondly, Denise stated to me that when it's time to collect the money, they come to you, right, Denise? They come to the village, and then that's when you know that the property was vacant because they got to get a rental permit. Can you elaborate on that?
The ones that come in, if there's a vacant property, there are several banks that will register, but to what Mr. Urban is saying, how do we monitor it? Unless code enforcement or someone is going out riding the streets every day to monitor that, you don't know if the property is vacant or not until they do come in and register it. That's the only way I know.
Charles, can you weigh in on that? I know we talked and you stated that you guys had an individual that all they did was vacant property.
Right, and that's exactly what we had. We had a part-time fireman. He came in, and that's 2 days a week, and that's all he did was manage vacant property. He had all the bank contacts, the property maintenance people that took care of the property for the banks. He had all the contact information he needed. But that was an awesome task that he put together. It took him about a year and a half to really complete that process. But once he got it under control, it was totally under control, and he had everybody in compliance, every vacant property in compliance. It's a task, and we don't really have the manpower to do that. We just don't have it. We don't have the manpower to enforce it, to raise the fees. I say yes, let's raise the fees. It generates capital for the village, but we don't have the manpower to go out there and actively do it. As I'm out there and I see vacant properties, most of the vacant properties Denise already know of, and they are under control. But to contact the banks, you have to be on the phone constantly with them because they're not going to return the calls. The banks are not going to return the calls. What Chad did was awesome. He was on the phone sometimes 6 or 7 hours a day just making phone calls, but he made it happen. It's a task.
That's what I suggested 2 years ago. I mean, you have to stay on top of it because every day with the notices for foreclosures and people just underwater in their mortgages, they just walk away. And sometimes you don't even know that it's vacant until it's vandalized. So I agree, it is a full-time job. We need somebody in place to get that done.
And I think we can't go at it half. Well, we have to, if that's what it takes, then that's what we need to do.
Right.
If we need to hire somebody and put them in charge of doing this, just to raise the fees would not be enough, because you might, some houses might be vacant for a long period of time. You don't know when you're going to get your money or get it back, and you're not getting the benefit of them coming in and maintaining the property because they know they're being held accountable. So I would say that we should look at the cost of hiring somebody to try to put together this program. I don't know if the guy over in Lansing's willing to work with us, the guy that we hire, and explain the program he put together or whatever we need to do.
Yeah. Well, whatever program we put together, even if you didn't raise the fees, when the banks and mortgage companies and investors know that you're doing enforcement and you're not going to let them just sit there, believe me, they start selling the houses. They start giving the houses to the village, you know. So another thing is that we actually don't collect our money, if we collect our money, for the tickets that we put against the property. I think we should bear the cost of, if you get a person to stay on top of the vacant houses, I think we should bear the cost if they check 15 houses a week, 20 houses a week, we've contacted the banks, mortgage companies. I think we should go for it and file those liens with Cook County to have them recorded. And that way, nothing slips through the cracks. Because in some cases, if we don't charge them for a time or two that we cut their grass, then we miss out on that. So, but the immediate filing of a lien on that property a lot of times make those owners move a little faster. So,
And a session that we took down at Nashville, they were finding hefty fines. It wasn't small fines. It wasn't 100. It wasn't 200. They was fining them $500 a day to make them take care of these properties. $500 because they wanted results, and they got results.
And
Just the banks they were charging?
Yes.
And
Whoever
trustee,
the
we do
property
have
owner
that.
was.
We have an ordinance for 500 already in place.
yeah, they can issue the citations every day, you know, the enforcement action. So, but I think once you recorded the liens, they look at it a little bit quicker, and that's it.
Okay, well,
Okay.
Mayor, I'm looking to add this to the next agenda for vote to increase the fee.
I would like to increase the fee more than $100.
I'm okay with that as long as it's going out the bank-owned property and our residents. I'm fine with that. What number do you want?
500 sounds like a good number to me.
So what you gonna have for Dolton residents?
I'll go to 200. I won't go to 500.
Well, at any rate, it seems like there's kind of a consensus. You could put the package together and present it at the next board meeting. Trustees can get together.
I thought that's what we do here now, so we can all get on one accord.
500.
So you 500, Stubbs 500, Trustee Muhammad?
I'm for an increase, but I'm feeling right now there's no real assessment or evaluation done on any of this. It seems like we're kind of shooting from the hip. I'm hearing that we do have an inventory of houses that are vacant that's owned by banks, but do we have an accurate accounting of them? And which ones are owned by residents? Because I'm hearing you hardly see any in the how many years you've been doing housing? At least, what, 3 years?
Yes.
So I just think more research needs to be done before I can give a vote on it.
Well, I think, like I said, we need to go the full gamut and hire somebody that's going to do this, because without hiring somebody to go out and work on this on a daily basis, we're just blowing smoke. It's not gonna, I mean, we're not gonna get it under control. We could make it $1,000 or we could make it $1. If it's not under control, it's not under control. If we don't know who owns the houses, it's like Charles said, you gotta have somebody on the phone, making those calls, finding out, logging this information so that we know a year from now, or whatever it takes, we know who owns every vacant house in our community, and that's the only way you're gonna do it. We could raise it next board meeting to $500, but if we don't know who owns it, so what? We need to go the full gamut and hire somebody and put them in place to do it.
Okay, Trustee, where you gonna get the money for the hire?
Well, then why are we raising it?
No. The hire, not the money for the person that's paying. She already have a list. So those people are already paying $50. So basically now she would be charging those people, meaning the banks, $100.
Well,
So
my
she already
concern is,
collecting the money.
my only concern is we have doing it again. So, I mean, we could,
Hey Denise, are we
phone
collecting
calls.
any monies now?
We collect on all sales, any liens that's against the property. And you don't have to actually record the lien with the Cook County. I know what Mayor's talking about, but according to our attorneys, as long as it's a grass lien or board-up lien, you can recoup your money without going to court for those, to record those. So we do recoup our money for those sales. Anytime we're selling property, we're checking those liens daily.
So could that be a start for us to go with the individuals that you already have, take them up to 500? Those are bank owned?
But those are, you're talking about for vacant properties.
Yes.
When they come in to get a sale, is when we recoup our money.
I thought we were trying to get them to maintain the properties, not just looking for revenue at the time of a sale. I thought we were trying to get the banks to come in and, hey, cut the grass and make
the
sure
one-
it's boarded up and looks okay.
But the one point I want to make, sometimes these properties are in limbo. They have not went through the foreclosure process. They could be sitting vacant for 2 years because the person left the home. But you can't charge anybody because nobody owns it yet. I mean, the
somebody.
bank owns it,
Right.
but they're not doing anything because the person could still get the house out of foreclosure. Pre-foreclosures mean nothing. It's only when you get the order approving the sale.
Well,
Some people leave their properties by being threatened of eviction. If you wind up in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, it could take 18 months, 2 years, as long as you go to those court dates. A lot of times when people wind up in trouble with foreclosure, they're afraid to get the mail, open the letter, and open the door. But one of the worst things you can do in a foreclosure, and the courts have been a lot more lenient now, is not make that court date. Because what happens then is that the other side for the bank, the attorneys for the bank, they says, well, the plaintiff's not here. We want to accelerate the foreclosure. So they may wind up getting you out of there in 3 months, 4 months. But if you continue to go, some of these foreclosures go 18 months to 2 years. And the courts of liens, Your Honor, I don't have an attorney. I'm working on getting an attorney, and and they go a long way. And then that time where you see you can't come out of that foreclosure, pay the delinquency because they accelerate the fees on the delinquency. You think you're 4 months behind in your payment, and then they'll turn around and they add $20,000, $25,000 on top of that for attorney fees. So now instead of you being $25,000 behind or $10,000 behind, you're $30,000 behind. So when you realize that you cannot come out of the foreclosure and you know you're going to have to move at that point, because a lot of the mortgage companies won't take partial payments, you should start saving your money and come to the reality that you're going to have to move, and not let the sentimental value interfere with you staying and delaying the process and wind up with the sheriff knocking on your door, putting the stuff out on the street. It's a shame that happens, but it does happen. And but you do have rights if you wind up in foreclosure, and believe me, the first 3 or 4 times you won't need an attorney to go there. And the court's very lenient because of it's happening everywhere. Every community it's happened. Rich communities, mansions, $1 million homes going into foreclosure, depending on what happens in the circumstances for the person that lives there. And I was reading an article about 4 months ago where there's a lot of foreclosures now where the people have been in their homes over 15 years. And on a 30-year mortgage, over 22 years, 25 years, been in a home, and the house is $50,000. They pay for 25 years, $150,000 in interest, and now they got $7,000 left on their homes. They wind up losing it, and it's a shame for those unfortunate circumstances, but they do happen. Okay, where are we? That's it.
That's it, and on the active agenda.
Okay. What I'd like to do is just give a little, any trustees got anything?
Yes, I have a couple announcements
Okay.
after, I think Pearson was first.
Go ahead, trustee Pearson.
I just wanted to mention to all the residents that the police department is having their toy drive, Toys for Tots. Donations can be dropped off at the police department November 1st through December 21st. Restrictions are all toys donated must be new and sealed in its original package. No stuffed animals are allowed, and all toys donated cannot be gift wrapped. Also, the Dolton Fire Department, please join the Dolton Fire Department and the Dolton Professional Firefighters Association Local 3766 in supporting our community with a village-wide food and toy drive. Giving back is essential. The food and toy drive, we will be accepting donations of unwrapped toys and non-perishable foods at Fire Station 1, located at 14022 Park Avenue, from November 9th to December 18th, 9 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Donations will be distributed at the Dolton Fire Department, Station 1, on Monday, December 21st, from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Information and queries can be, you can call 708-201-3252. And I'm just asking that everybody, if you're able, contribute it to both of these. I know they're both for toys. One is by the police and one is by fire, except fire is for food also. If you can give, please give. And that's all I have now.
Thank you, trustee Pearson. Trustee Muhammad.
Yes, two announcements. Thank you, Mayor. Number one, Melanie Fitness Center now is offering childcare while you work out. We've just redesigned an entire room for young people, I think from 5 or 6 months up to 14 years old. So you should come by and see it. It's made available to you, and the cost of it is for those who have children. It would be coming out of your membership. Of course, as I mentioned before, we now have silver sneakers that's available to you. We've added quite a few classes: Zumba, yoga. I may be missing some: beginners spin, advanced spin, mixed martial arts. And anybody seen the fight this weekend with Rousey? You can learn how to fight just like the woman that just beat Rousey. I guess I'm speaking a foreign language right now, if you're not into the UFC.
I saw the fight, trustee.
Okay. I feel for her, but anyway. And lastly, as we are broadcasting this board meeting, it's historic. We are now live streaming. So if you were at home and you got on the internet and you dialed up villageofdolton.org and you click the watch live icon at the very top of the website, you can see this meeting live stream. So it is actually being live streamed as we speak. I want to thank our media director, Mr. Edward Steve, back there on camera, of all his hard and diligent work in making this happen.
Thank you, Edward.
Because as the mayor mentioned, he wants to try to get transparency and communication, and that's the whole purpose of the Sentinel, and taking advantage of the internet as much as possible. So I thank you again, Edward Steve, and Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, trustee Muhammad.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I have one for individuals 18 and over. The customer service evaluation team is a mystery shopper company that will assignment in your location that will pay you $250 per assignment, which will come in the form of a cashier's check along with details regarding your assignment. The job email evaluation consists of what you call mystery shopper. You will be a mystery shopper that will go into Macy's, Walgreens, the Postal Service, and you can get up to $250 assignment. So anyone 18 and up, a little Thanksgiving money, a little Christmas money for the holiday, just give you something to do. You can see me after the meeting and I can give you the information. Thank you.
You want to, I'm not sure where you get that information from, but one thing you want to do is that you want to make sure it's legitimate. some years ago. I applied for that, and it was a mystery, and I didn't get my check.
And
So
I'm a retired station manager, and we definitely have mystery shoppers. That's a real thing that goes on. Mystery shoppers.
And they do.
It's for real.
But there's some fraudulent ones out there, so you just be careful and make sure you dot your I's.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, Mayor, if you would permit me, the one little thing I forgot, in these streaming, they're high definition. Unlike on Channel 4 or Channel 99, Channel 4 with Comcast, 99 with UVerse. When you go on the internet, it is high definition, which is 1080. Is it 1080 or 720p? 1080, which is a higher form of high definition. So when you get a chance, can they see the replays, or that would only be during live stream, Mr. Steve? High definition. Just one note for those who are interested in high definition.
Yes, we, and I want to commend our media director here, Steve, along with Trustee Muhammad, because Trustee Muhammad kind of started with the bringing us to the next level when he was a civilian, when he volunteered to actually broadcast our, record our meetings. So Ed along volunteered during that time period with editing and things like that. And now we have, and I'm not sure if anybody have seen it, maybe some of you have, we have our new media center downstairs where all this stuff is being done. Editing, recording, interviews. We picked up some additional viewers with UVerse. We just went live with UVerse, AT&T, so now Comcast and AT&T viewers can watch our broadcast. The next phase of that media center is that anybody that would like to take a look at it, you can do so after the meeting. It can show you around there. But we actually took one of the vaults, took all the safety deposit boxes out of there, and made it into the media center. We have, what did they bring, fiber optic? They brought the fiber optics into the building here. So our next phase of that media center is converting it to also a command center for police and fire emergencies. The basement has about 20 inches thick walls. It can be used as a fallout shelter. But what we can do is set up command there if we have a disaster with police and fire, have communications. The other phase is that we've talked about with Mr. Urban, is trying to get cameras. Is trying to get cameras throughout the village where we can actually, when we have emergency situations, we can actually zoom into those areas, determine what kind of emergency equipment we need to get there, communication right from this building. So that's our next step in regards to being very visual in making the community safe. So next thing I want to say is that our senior dinner, and this is for Dolton seniors, senior dinner is next Tuesday, November 24th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. That'll be at the Dorchester. Senior Thanksgiving dinner from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. November 24th. Also, the final leaf pickup is what, December 1st? There will be no more leaves picked up by the disposal company after December 1st, I'm sorry. No coffee with the mayor next month. December, we don't hold coffee with the mayor. It will resume after the Christmas holidays. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. Mr. Moore left, but I just wanted to recognize him for his effort in receiving certificate of appreciation from the Southern Poverty Law Center in Montgomery, Alabama, for his work on behalf of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Certificate of appreciation presented to Mr. Herman Moore Sr. in recognition of your important contribution to the ongoing fight against hatred and intolerance in America. The name shown above will be added to the Wall of Tolerance in Montgomery, Alabama, to provide inspiration to all those who choose to take a stand against hatred. Thank you for taking a stand. Morris Dees, Southern Poverty Law Institute. And if there are no other announcements,
I have one, Mayor.
okay.
As everybody know, I'm always speaking about jobs, and I try to tell you what's going on within the community. Domino's Pizza is hiring. They're always hiring. They're hiring for a driver and also a cashier and also a cook. And that's right in Dolton. You have Sonic's. They're hiring. They're located in Calumet City. And just so everyone know, just about every store in River Oaks Mall is hiring. And I announce these because some people do watch this and some people do watch it online. Walmart and Target is hiring seasonal help. So if you're looking for a job, the one on 95th is hiring. I go in there a lot. So go see either the store manager or a manager and apply online. Last but not least, I got a lot of feedback from my last announcement. A lot of people out here are struggling. A lot of people are facing foreclosure. A lot of people don't know what to do when they're hit with something like that. I got like maybe several calls regarding loan modification. I stopped by people's houses, meaning residents, and I helped them fill out the paperwork. They didn't know the proper procedures or the documentation that was required to turn in for the loan mod. Some people are just going through the process, so they haven't gotten approval back or anything like that. I told them, please let me know, but they won't come to a board meeting and let you guys know that they got approved or denied, because some people are just embarrassed or ashamed and don't want to announce it for everyone else. Again, if you do need help or assistance, my name is Trustee Tiffany Hinyard. My phone number is 708-297-6859. Again, that number is 708-297-6859. And last but not least, happy Thanksgiving. Have a safe and fun holiday. Thank you.
Okay, the next portion of our meeting is the citizens' address. I'd like anyone who wants to address this body, they can approach the podium there. And we'd like to remind you that there's a 3-minute time frame.
Good evening. My name is Arletta
Not on.
Baldwin. I represent Wallamark Management. We own the properties between 154th and 156th, Dorchester and Dante. That consists of 51 rental units and 5 parking lots. So first of all, I'd like to let the village know that you do have inspectors. They are out there. But I'm not complaining about them. They were helpful to me today. I didn't know until today that there was a possible fining situation that goes on. I've dealt with Denise and Matt, so they know that we're forever doing things on our property. We took on a massive tree cutting and removal project within the last few days, removing and cutting down and trimming back over 20 trees. Some of them belong to us, some of them belong to the village, because we had trees that were hanging over onto the sidewalk, and our tenants were getting cut by them. They were falling on their cars. The massive cleanup is taking a little bit longer than we expected, but I was here to assure the village that, I mean, you can come by, you'll see we've lined them up. Originally, we had put them in a parking lot on our property. However, what that meant was that 20 to 30 cars would have to be on the street. That would be unneighborly, because then there would be no space for other residents to park. So we opened up the parking lots and kind of trimmed our property with the trees. We are having that removed. We are also would like to finish the resurfacing of our parking lots. We won't be able to do that this year, but I'm asking that you remember that there are 3 curbs that were tore down when we had some water main breaks, and we are told that we cannot resurface our parking lots and go out into the driveway because it would run into the curve. So when the village did come to repair the curves, it would do damage to where we would have already resurfaced. So I'm asking if we can be put on the budget to get those curbs repaired. Also, we had a tenant who almost failed, because if you come, I'd like all of you all call me, set up an appointment, walk around our property, see our property, come into our units and see what we're doing. But we have some spots that are sidewalks where we've removed trees because they're
the roots are overgrowing. We have sidewalks on Dorchester and Dante that the trees are actually sitting the sidewalk up almost 2 feet out the ground. So my tenants are going to fall. So I need the village's help, in getting those sidewalks leveled off, because they're the public thoroughway, not ours.
I was over there personally and marked some of those sidewalks with the contractor to repair them. Did they repair them, Matt? Okay. One of the things the reason that we didn't repair those curbs, because I saw that your driveway needed some repairing. So we need to have both contractors, your paving people and our concrete people, talk together as to when to get that done. Because if we had did the curbs, your people or contractors could have possibly damaged the curbs while they're doing the resurfacing there. So I think before it gets done, and now that you said it's going to be next spring, just contact us and we'll make it a collaborative effort to try it out, get done at the same time.
And again, I'd like to invite the trustees as well as the mayor and all of that work for the village, because we do interact with different departments. I'd like to invite them to come out. Please come see our property and see what we're doing. That at one time was considered the Dolton projects, and I'd like for you to come, because we have made it a lovely place for residents to come, and we have made it so that we get a different quality of resident to come live in the Dolton area.
We trimmed some trees over there too.
Yeah. You can come see
I
how
know
many
exactly
trees
where
we
you
got.
know-
You're welcome to come
I
see
know
how
where
many
you at.
trees we have that are lined up that have been trimmed.
That's good. That's part of the beautification aspect we like to have all the residents buy into, because we can't do it all. But I appreciate all your efforts in maintaining that property to help us get good, qualified, and nice residents in the area. How's your father?
Fine, thank you.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
1 second. I think I spoke with you this morning about the tree issue on the property. My question to you is now the contractor actually called me earlier this afternoon, and he explained to me that he's having trouble picking up the trees now. Did he do anything today? Any further work today?
They did remove some trees. Apparently, the truck that they have that's supposed to chop the trees up, they were supposed to bring an on-site truck to chop the trees up on site. That truck had some kind of mechanical problem, so they were manually or loading the trees up, taking them to another location.
Right, because here's the problem over there, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to ask you.
Before we go public with this,
Thank you.
why don't you pull her to the side?
Thank you.
And talk to her about the incident.
Thank you. I mean, I did say the inspectors did a good job.
I was going to ask for the village help in getting these up. They're blocking the sidewalk. They're almost wrapping around the property.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, if you talk with Matt. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Mrs. Creighton. What I'd like to say first, I'd like to thank the mayor for bringing, and Ms. Hicks for bringing CETA to the Coffee with the Mayor. There were a lot of individuals that needed assistance, and I think that we need to do that more frequently under the time frame that CETA has it. I just wanted to say thank you to you both, because I had to take advantage of that, and there are many other individuals. But also, I wanted to say today that, to remind the community that on November the 30th, the weekend after Thanksgiving, District 205 is hosting a strategic planning committee meeting. I will make sure that Edward gets a flyer of that, but understanding the difficulties and the problems that face District 205 at this time, and since Thornridge sits smack dab in the middle of Dolton, the first meeting will be December 30th for Thornridge. Each school building and their designated communities will have a meeting. And I think it's very important that the taxpayers come and listen to and give your input on how monies that is going to be asked for, concerns that are addressing District 205 when it comes to the education, quality of education for our young people in our communities. So at this time, I'd like to invite you out November the 30th. The meeting will start, it's from 4:30 to 7:30 on that Monday. Usually Mondays are not a good day for meetings, but I wanted to give the announcement today, as well as make sure that Edward gets that information so we can put it on Channel 4. And also, just thanking everyone and wishing all of us a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Craig. Okay, that concludes our citizens' address. I get a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
My name is Ronald Williams. I live at 15500 Minerva in the prestigious village of Dolton, Illinois. I'm just having a problem with my neighbor who is here tonight. And I would like to address this because I'm confused, and hopefully out of this I can gather some clarity. Several months ago, he started bringing his garbage can from his house across the street on my side of the street, placing it with my garbage can. I called the city of Dolton, and the young lady said she called them, but after that they stopped it. A month and a half ago, he had a vehicle that had 3 flat tires. Now they tend to park in front of my facility. Okay, now here's the scenario. They have 8 parking spots around their house. I have 8 around mine. When they park there, when the street sweeper comes through, they have to go around their truck. So I try to plan the movement of my vehicles so I can have my street swept. I've just retired. I realized that around my curb I was growing trees and weeds. So I've been moving to correct those problems so I can beautify my community. So in the process of that, now my concern is as we move into the winter, when the snow truck comes around, they're parked there because I move my vehicles up into my driveway. They cannot clean my area. I would like for them to park on their side. That's my concern. Now, here's another problem. Yesterday when I got home from church, a young lady's car was parked in front of my house. She was on my grass with water. The mats from her car, washing the mats from her car. Now, to me, that's total disrespect. I'm going to respect your property. I'm not going to do anything to interfere with your property. You know, I can't clean the shrubs from the side of my sidewalk because your car is there. Your tires are sitting on that. Now, my question is, what is the time frame for a vehicle that's got 3 flat tires that can sit on the street?
Well, you know, one of the things I wanted to introduce, and I actually been wanting to do this for a couple of years, is the fact that, and I'm not sure where our ordinance is, what's considered an abandoned vehicle? Now, in the city of Chicago, whether it's on flats, properly licensed, it has to be moved every 7 days. If otherwise considered abandoned and or liable for enforcement or towing. So even if that's your second or third car and you don't drive it, as long as it's properly licensed, has a sticker on it, you can move it back and forth to each side of the street every 7 days and not be in violation. Now, there are some cars that are properly licensed. I see they have the state registration. They have this village sticker on it, but it never moves. And the sweeper has to go around it all the time. Excuse me. And there's this one particular car, I know for the last three years, it doesn't move. But they buy license plates and sticker on it. Tires are a little low because it hasn't moved, but all around it and underneath it's all dirty because you can see all the time where the sweeper goes around it and where even in the wintertime, the snow plows go around it. So that's something I would like to introduce in legislation, and then the police will have a little bit more enforcement to do it. Now the police do tag cars. I know the state police, once they tag it on a vehicle, They got 2 hours to move it. I'm not sure, Chief, and I'm not sure if you know what
Before he answers,
24-hour tag here.
and
Okay.
let me say this.
Now I'm going to address the issue of the parking. You said, well, he's got 8 spaces on his side, and I got 8 spaces. To be quite frank with you, those aren't your spaces.
Okay.
Thus, a public street, anything on the outside of the sidewalk to the curb is public.
Domain.
No, it's parkway. It's parkway property. And I know, because I've been in the same situation as you, it may be irritating to you that they pull the car up on your side of the street and put the mats there and wash their mats on there. That's actually public parkway.
Even
Now,
the grass.
well, that's not your grass. In that parkway? From the side?
No.
Which,
We talking Minerva, the street of Minerva.
okay,
She parks on the side.
a curb,
No, not the curb.
okay,
Closer to the next house to me. But
okay.
it's in front of my house.
East side of your house.
The
Well,
east,
no,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is that it's not up on the curb, is it?
No, but she's on my grass, the grass that I pay to get cut.
Yeah, but that's parkway grass. If the city, if you had a water main break or gas, or gas company want to come out and cut your gas off, they can dig it up, tear it up, and whole ball and wax. You got nothing to say about it. That's parkway property. That's easement. That's access. That's parkway. Now, even though you maintain it, that's parkway property. Now, it's more of a courtesy and try to be neighborly to give a little bit of respect and whatever. But if they get to that one of them 8 spaces before you do, or you get one of their 8 spaces before they do, it's completely legal. Unless there's handicap signs there, or, which we don't have, permit parking. If it was designated permitted parking, and you have to have a sticker to park in that area, then it's one thing. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, and then the handicap area. But, you see people during the wintertime, they shovel the spot out and they put a chair there.
Right.
And then somebody says, oh, he ain't home. I'm going to move this chair and put my car there. It causes a lot of fights and everything. And then you see in the city of Chicago, they say, well, now it's been out here long enough. We're going to start taking the chairs and the beds. And somebody put a table out there with 4 chairs, glasses, and dishes on the table. So, but yeah. But I mean, it's about really being neighborly and trying to get along. But
It is illegal to park on the grass.
No.
We didn't say on the grass.
They weren't on my grass. It had 3 flat tires. Then they turned around and got a jack and jacked it up and they left it there for 3 days.
Yeah.
That's illegal too.
Now, that's an eyesore in front of them.
Sure.
Safety hazard.
Now, when she did the washing of her vehicle, she did it on my side and then moved it to her side.
Yeah. Well,
now I'm feeling like,
do you have trees there where it was shaded?
No.
No. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know the reasoning for it. But I think it's part of, hey, let's get along and be neighborly and stuff like that. So
maybe this was not the place to bring it up since we all. But,
yeah.
I was going to come last month.
Yeah. And
I said, well, let me just back off. But when she did the grass scenario, washing her mats,
right,
that kind of took me there.
Yeah. I don't really know how to.
Mayor, this is my neighbor. This is not my car, by the way, that he's talking about. And he's come to me, and of course I tell him to come to the board meeting to make his address. But what he didn't say, and I guess he's being kind, he did talk to a police officer, and the response of the officer wasn't cordial, saying that maybe he should get a handicapped zone in that area, and he's not handicapped, as you can plainly see. And that individuals' cars in violation, they don't have a vehicle sticker. So they could at least got a ticket for not having a vehicle sticker.
Okay.
And it's a matter of ringing the person's doorbell and really just asking them to move their vehicle. So.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Barbara Nelson, 14116 Park Avenue. Isn't there ordinance about you walking your dog without a leash on?
I think there is, yeah, yeah. And I'm not sure if it should be muzzled too. Does the ordinance say muzzled? I know in the city it says
Okay, because
leash and muzzled.
there's this guy that walks this, I'm pretty sure you all have seen him because he goes through the police station and everywhere. He walks his dog. Now, I have a dog, but I'm afraid of dogs because I got bit by a Rottweiler.
Right.
So I don't want your dog running up to me, even though you say it can't bite. It has teeth.
Right.
It can bite. What can I do when this dog runs up to me besides kill him, you know? Is there anything that I can, you know, could I report him, you know?
When you actually see it, report it.
Okay.
When you see it.
Okay, because he walks the street
I know what you got.
all day, all throughout the day. He's walking that dog, and he never has a leash on that dog, and the dog just takes off and runs to, I'm getting out of my car with babies, and the dog just runs up to me, you
Right.
know? What am I supposed to do?
Well, you know, Chief, I know who she's talking about. I can give you the information. You can go over and knock on the door, maybe. Yeah, thank you. All right.
Good evening, everyone. Today I had the privilege of going to the different elders' house because our hotspot didn't work at the Dorchester Saturday, and it kind of got my heart of how many old people could not walk, could not get out their house. So I would like to make sure you have my number for any seniors that need help with their bills, someone that might need help with their rent. Give them my number so that I can assist them. Because to see our elders today, you know, hardly able to get around the house, and most of them have no one that can help them. I really want to be a help to them. So my number is 708-374-4038. And there are places that will help you with rent, food, everything. It's just about making the connection and, you know, getting you in contact with it. 708-374-4038. And my name is Karen Hicks. And give it to anybody that needs help as far as seniors and disabled, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Hicks.
Thank you, Karen.
How about turkeys? All right, I'd like to get a motion, if we will, if we could, to adjourn this meeting.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and second to adjourn this meeting. Roll call.
Trustee Brown,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
Stubbs,
Aye.
Muhammad,
Aye.
Henyard.
Aye.
Motion carried, 5 ayes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming out.
30 straight on the head.